And I tell people, because, I write for Inc. and have written for CMO and a couple of others, and the way that we as journalists or columnists get paid is by you sharing the story. So if someone would reach out to me from the media and say, hey, or from an agency or whatever, and, I want you to interview such and such. First thing I did is go check out their website, their Twitter, or whatever. Like, if I do this, will I get any payback from this person, helping amplify the message?
That's right.
It's cliche, but the writing's on the wall. Now I wonder why you even came home at all.
Welcome to Canned Heat, brought to you by Liger Partners. Liger Partners specializes in marketing operations. We are magically skilled in both. And today I have one of my colleagues who's sort of sometimes on the operations side, but often most on the marketing. So Cynthia Hayes, she helps our companies when they are looking at the concept of earned media. Yeah. And earned media is kind of it's like one of the top of the charts, in my opinion, of the type of market. Yeah, it is. It's the thing that you do like to make everything else accelerate.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about earned media.
Yeah, so earned media is a great complement for when you already have some marketing strategies in place to draw more attention to your business. So if you have some key messaging that you want to get out about your company, something you can brag about, prove your expertise in a market or in an area, it's a great way to actively push yourself out there and try to get some extra attention through the media.
Yeah, and it's nice because, when we're talking with companies and starting with the marketing kind of approach, it's something we add. So I don't often do earned media at the beginning because you got to have a story. We got to know what that story is.
That's right.
And that's the mistake is I'll work with companies who are like, oh, we want to be listed or we want somebody to talk about us, but they don't even know what they stand for.
Who they are. They don't really have an established voice yet. If the media goes to check out their website or their social or to get some verification that they're a legitimate expert in this field, then it may or may not help them to get some earned media attention.
Yeah, well, and I tell people, because I write for Inc. and have written for CMO and a couple of others, and the way that we as journalists or columnists get paid is by you sharing the story. So if someone would reach out to me from the media and say, hey, or from an agency or whatever, and, I want you to interview such and such. First thing I did is go check out their website, their Twitter, or whatever. Like, if I do this, will I get any payback from this person, helping amplify the message?
That's right. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, so establishing yourself is like a really key piece to it. So talk to me about the difference between, so I think a lot of people, when they think of earned media, they think of like the classic press release. Yeah. So where do you think the press release lives in today's world?
There's certainly a use for press release. A lot of SEO people will tell you that they help gain some SEO traction. To search engines loves them because they're full of keywords and whatnot. If you don't have an established relationship with media, it's likely that your press release will just be ignored. So there's still a very relational piece that happens with especially high level, when you're working with trade magazines and things, establishing relationship, proving that you have a unique voice and that you add value to their readers. So a press release just going out there, like on PR Web or something is good for SEO purposes. It might help augment some things you're doing, but a more targeted article that is more specifically targeted to specific types of publications and journalists is going to get you a lot farther. If they don't even want, if they're not interested in that particular one, they may follow up and be like, oh, this doesn't really hit it, but could you write something on XYZ? And that's really where the magic starts to happen, because you establish that relationship, you add value for them, for their readers, and they can continue on into different subjects.
Yeah, because I think I've had companies that we've worked with before say, oh, we sent out some press releases and nobody picked it up.
Right.
Like, we didn't get anything from it.
Yeah.
And that's really not how it works, right? I mean, you want to have a targeted list of either writers or places you're going to with these stories.
That's right. And being consistent and seeing what's on their radar. It's there's that whole media relations, and the relations is an important part of it still, even though it's all, usually digital. It's still,
Right.
even if you're just emailing back and forth, there's still a relational component where these are real people on the other end trying to do a good job for their publication or their blog or whatever. So you want to add value to them and do something that makes sense rather than just spamming them with, something that may or may not hit. They're going to disregard everything you send them, if you start to just look like a spammer. So
Yeah, and I would get so many things, and stories that weren't in line with something I'd ever write about.
Right, like cheese or something.
Yeah.
Somebody's contacting you. Like,
Yeah, I write about entrepreneurship, technology. I've never written
never
about
talked
cheese.
about cheese in my life. Why are you sending this to me? Yeah.
In fact, I'm lactose intolerant.
Do your research.
So when you are thinking of finding opportunities for earned media for a company, what are some of the first steps that you have to go through to think about that?
So a lot of times we talk to our clients about, what do you read?
Okay.
Where do you go? And looking at their target market, what does that market, read, listen to, get into? What kind of influencers are they following on social media? And kind of connecting, getting a bigger picture of where these people are naturally getting their information. And then obviously having access to broad media lists that we can filter and target based on topics they write about, or, regions they write to, or, anything like that to kind of scale it down a little bit. That's helpful.
Yeah, and that's part of, Liger is marketing and operations, and it's intentionally that, because marketing without an operational component doesn't do well.
Yes.
And that's often the issue, right? People, they're trying a tactic. I tried that once and it didn't work.
That's right.
And I've seen that in the earned media place. I reached out to some people and they didn't pay any attention, but they didn't have a relationship. They didn't know kind of who they should go after, what their story should look like.
And the follow-up is important too, just because, someone, I'm sure we've all missed a friend's email, right? And and it dropped away. And of course that friend's going to reach back out to us and be like, hey, just checking in, so there is a persistency in a follow-up, not a I'm stalking you kind of thing,
right.
But a professional follow-up, that can happen, that can, get your foot in the door when you're first breaking through.
Yeah. And one thing that I would tell people, because I had people who would reach out to me all the time, is with the column, was writing weekly. And so I had to have something every week.
Yes.
So it wasn't that I was against getting things. I needed to get them in a certain way. Don't send me just this long, I don't have time to read the whole thing, right? A couple sentences, you got to tell me what it is. And it needs to be within kind of the spectrum of maybe the three things I typically write about.
Yes.
And I was often thankful, right? It's like, oh, gosh, there's something I can write about next
Somebody
week.
gave me the content. I can roll with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it can be a positive if you kind of work it the right way.
Absolutely. And that takes a little bit of back and forth. That takes you being willing to say, if you want to give me XYZ, I'll gladly, include this in my content.
Right.
Then that's helpful. Then I can go back and do the research and give you what you need and be a source for you ongoing. And next time, hopefully you think of me and you're like, oh, you know what? She did that really great thing on, entrepreneurship. Maybe she could help me with this.
Right.
And then I'm all about it, right?
Exactly. And even in your reach out, if you come back to me again, I'm like, oh yeah, I got good content from her last time. Right. And the person I needed to talk to was available and all that. So as a client, so let's say that you find earned media for somebody.
Yeah.
What are some tips you give that person when they, you get somebody to agree to write about a topic?
When I get the media to write about a topic?
Yeah. Is it just the availability, or is it often that you already have the content ready? How much as a client do I need to be prepared if somebody's ready to write about it?
Typically, my role is to help have that at least, interesting content already ready.
Okay.
I should know, as your media person, what these publications are writing about the next quarter, kind of what's on their radar. And I should be steering you and helping pull that content for you.
Yeah.
So I can be like, hey, they're really focused on the Olympics right now. I know you have nothing to do with the Olympics, but let's put a spin on it that has some kind of competitive or Olympic feel or something. And then, we'll push that because they're more likely to, publish that actually. And then we can also talk to them, about just interviewing you for a piece they're already working on.
Right.
Like perhaps they already have a project going and be like, oh, but he's an expert on entrepreneurs. He could probably contribute to that project. Would you like to interview him? And then that's like, to your point, more content for them, and you're the expert. So yeah, let's get him on the phone.
Well, and most of the journalists, several of them may not be experts at some of the things, or they need a different perspective.
That's
They're looking for something interesting, different to kind of make it, because you write about a topic so much that you start to think maybe you've said everything and you need to have someone else kind of give you, or you need an example. Like I would always need an example. Like I want to write about this thing, but I need a couple of companies or individuals who can give me an example of how that applies.
That's right. And sometimes they want a contrary voice to what they're hearing. So if they've talked to 3 people and they're all kind of saying the same thing, and you come in and you're like, actually, I have a different take on that, then they're, that's super exciting, because then they can create a little, dialogue and conflict and resolution within their own writing. So
that was when my book came out. I'm very anti-demographics because I think it's a really bad targeting. I think it's a good starting point, but you have to get below it.
Sure.
I was working with a group that was starting up here in Atlanta, and they wanted to target people who made $150,000 or more. And that was their demographic. I'm like, well, you can't write marketing messages for that. You can't be like, are you making a lot of money? You should spend it with us, right? That doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so Nielsen has always been big about demographics. And I had a lot of really good conversations with a guy who there believed demographics were great. And I was kind of the counterpoint.
Yeah.
That gives you that it's got to be visceral. You either have to hate what the person says or love it, right? You don't want it to be lukewarm.
You don't want to be vanilla and just be like, okay, whatever, that was a waste. Like you need to, stir some kind of emotional response, even if it's for a fleeting moment, to be interesting enough, to stop and read.
So in our final moment, so earned media, like in your experience, like how long would it, so if I started to kind of look at earned media and trying to get placement, is it happen overnight, or is it something that typically takes a little bit of time?
It certainly builds. There are, if you're willing, if your market is broad, you can get some lower tier placements pretty quickly. If you're targeting, professional trade magazines or something, then, that takes a little more time to build those relationships and get in. It's a smaller, more narrow media market, right? So those things tend to build over time and can take quite a while. They could take months. We're careful in the media business to never, guarantee placement or anything like that, because it's not up to us, right? It's up to the journalist and their editor. What their editor says is the flavor of the week, is what will get run. So
and you have to trust that, because the journalist knows their editor and what the editor will either do or not do. And
that's right.
That can be part of it.
And often editors can be our best friends. Those are typically the people I reach out to first, because then they can assign me to a writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who's writing in my lane, or who's working on a project that I might fit into with this client. So editors, if I keep pinging them, they help set me up with the writers, and then I continue those relationships with the writers, reach back up to the editors every now and then, and kind of work the whole.
It's a multi-prong, It
really is. It's time intensive, but having your name, your company's name, your personal name appear in lots of different spaces and trusted sources adds a lot of value to your business.
Yeah, it's one of the best pieces of credibility you can get.
That's
just like, it's and it's why you call it earned. Like I earned it.
You gotta earn it. That's right.
Well, thanks so much for joining me and talking about that.
Thank you, Eric.
So Cynthia Hayes with Liger Partners helps us with our earned media components. If you are ready to unleash the beast and get some earned media for yourself, reach out to us and we can help you with that.